Good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for finding time to be with us. The show is Diaspora Dispatches. We get to bring you up to date with the latest news from across the continent of Africa. My name is Miriam Mugutu, and it is a pleasure to have you on board. And we shall start our news bulletin from some news from Ethiopia, and the U.S. says it welcomes progress in aid reaching Ethiopia's northern regions, including Tigray, where millions have been in dire need of essential emergency supplies for months. Relief agencies have long accused the Ethiopian government of implementing a de facto blockade and hindering access to Tigray. More than 1,000 trucks with food, medical and other supplies have arrived in Tigray in a week, according to a statement by the U.S. Department of State. War broke out between the government and the Tigrayan forces 19 months ago, unleashing a massive humanitarian crisis in which millions were uprooted from their homes. Following an agreement of a humanitarian truce in March, there has been a lull in fighting, and aid flowing to the region has increased, but humanitarian workers still say much more effort and aid are required to meet the demands. And then we move on to Mali, where the West African Regional Bloc Ecowas says it regrets the Mali junta's decision to fix the length of the transition to civilian rule to 2 years, given the negotiations are ongoing. It said its mediator would continue talks with the Malian authorities with a view of searching a mutually acceptable transitional agreement that will ensure ECOWAS's support. On Monday, Mali's junta leader, Colonel Assimi Goïta, signed a decree fixing the length of the transition period to 24 months, starting from March this year. The army initially seized power in 2020 and has been under international pressure to hold elections sooner. The junta had initially agreed to hold them in February this year. When Mali missed this deadline, ECOWAS imposed stiff sanctions over the weekend. An ECOWAS meeting decided to keep the measures in place, but in due to meet by next month to review the progress. And then we head over to South Africa, and the South African court has rejected the Mozambican government's request to appeal against the decision to extradite former Finance Minister Manuel Chang to the U.S. Last November, a Johannesburg court ordered Mr. Chang's extradition to the U.S., where he is accused of corruption, fraud and money laundering. But the Mozambican government petitioned the South Africa's Constitutional Court for authorization to appeal against the sentence. On Tuesday, the court dismissed the request. The government in Mozambique had wanted him to be extradited to Maputo, where 19 suspects are on trial on similar charges. The crimes against Mr. Chang relates to loans taken by Mozambique during his tenure as finance minister. Mr. Chang signed off more than $2.7 billion in loans to set up a sophisticated tuna industry, to buy trawlers and military patrol boats, but much of it was allegedly diverted to corrupt officials. He has since denied the charges in bribes and that he accepted bribes worth $7 million. He has since denied those allegations, and he was arrested in December 2018 at the request of the U.S., where investors were affected by the scandal. And the UN has warned that Somalia is heading towards a famine as the country faces its worst drought in at least 4 decades. Currently, close to half of the population is facing crisis-level food insecurity. The UN's humanitarian coordinator for the country, Adam Abdelmoula, has said the international community must act now or more people will die. He said the country was on the brink of devastating and widespread hunger and mass starvation that could claim hundreds of thousands of lives. 4 consecutive rainy seasons have failed, and the U.S. estimates the ensuing severe drought has affected 7 million people and displaced more than 800,000. At the same time, food prices are soaring in part because of the war in Ukraine, and humanitarian assistance humanitarian assistance is cut out out of reach for many because of insecurity and conflict. And then we head over to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the King of Belgium is in the Democratic Republic of Congo for a historic visit. He will initiate the return of the artifacts looted during the rule of his ancestor, King Leopold II, during which millions died and country was plundered. King Philippe, Queen Mathilde, and members of the Belgian government are on a week-long visit to the country, his first since becoming king in 2013. 2 years ago, he expressed that what he called his deepest regrets for the wounds of colonization under King Leopold. King Philippe is expected to hand over the first of more than 80,000 artifacts looted during the colonial period and visit the regional cities of Lubumbashi and Bukavu. And then he head over to Cameroon, where the army in Cameroon has confirmed that soldiers have killed 9 civilians, including an 18-month-old girl. An army spokesperson said a group of soldiers opened fire when they encountered hostile villagers in Mesong in the country's northwest region earlier this month. Spokesperson described the use of weapons as inappropriate and manifestly disappropriate. Cameroon's Ministry of Defense says 4 soldiers have been arrested following the shooting. An investigation has been launched into the killings in the same region 2 years ago. 21 civilians, including 13 children and a pregnant woman, were killed by Cameroonian soldiers in the village of Ngamba. 2 soldiers and another person were later charged with murder, arson, destruction, violence against pregnant women, and disobeying orders. But human rights organizations denounced a slow and fair trial and the absence of the top army officials among the accused persons. And still staying with Cameroon, and the United States has granted temporary protected status to nearly 40,000 Cameroonian refugees living in the U.S. who have fled a separatist conflict in the west of the country and an Islamist insurgency in the north. It gives them the right to stay and work in the U.S. for 18 months. The Department of Homeland Security added the status could be renewed if the security situation in Cameroon did not improve. The International Crisis Group says more than 6,000 people have been killed and more than 700,000 have been displaced in clashes between separatists and security forces since 2017. The Human Rights Watch say the Islamist violence in northern Cameroon has led to a major humanitarian crisis, displacing more than 300,000 people since 2014. And then we go to Nigeria. After sadness and fear, it is anger that has emerged in Owo town, southwest Nigeria, following a deadly church attack in the country's relatively peaceful region. Women marched in protest outside the tradition palace of Owo on Tuesday. Some of them chanted to Ogun, the deity of iron, calling for revenge against those responsible for the attack in the St. Francis Catholic Church. It's an entire community that is still traumatized by the murder of over 50 people, including children. And President Buhari has ordered a full-scale investigation. The Ondo Police Command has not made any arrests yet, according to a spokeswoman, where there were at least 5 assailants. Schools and public gathering spots remained closed in Owo Tuesday, and the Owo Kingdom's monarch Oba Ajibade Ogunoye brought together ethnic leaders for discussions as he expressed his fears the violence could escalate further. And then we end our news from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the DRC President Felix Tshisekedi has said there is no doubt that Rwanda supported M23 rebels in clashes in the east of his country that have displaced tens of thousands. Rwanda has consistently denied accusations of backing the rebels. On Monday, there was renewed fighting between the Congolese army and the rebels in Motsuru area. An M23 spokesperson said the army started bombarding their positions in Jomba early in the morning. Mr. Tshisekedi's claims on Rwanda's meddling were his first in recent times as tensions continue to rise between the Eastern African countries. The president spoke on Sunday after visiting neighboring Congo Brazzaville, where he met his counterpart Denis Sassou Nguesso. He emphasized that although he wanted peace with Rwanda, DR Congo's neighbors should not mistake his desire for peace with weakness. All right, I feel like the lines have been drawn there. So that is what we have from across the continent of Africa, the latest. So thank you so much for your time. My name is Mia Mogoto. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.